All right, good evening. I would like to welcome everyone to our Monday night regular meeting. It is November 25th. The time is 6 p.m. I guess I'll call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. and I'll do the roll call. Trustee Piles. Trustee Kennard. Trustee Ebbets.
Present.
Portia Laster, present. We do have a quorum. Can we stand for the pledge? For the record, Darcel Davis is excused, Ursula Wester is tardy, and Paris McCarthy is tardy. Acceptance of the agenda. Be it resolved that the Board of Education amends the November 25th, 2024 meeting to add the audit report when the auditors are present. Motion by Laster, supported by Piles. Piles,
Yes.
Laster, yes. Ebbets,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
passes. We are now at public comment. Before we start public comment, I would like to make mention that we do have the new and improved public comment forms in the back. There is a tray up here for all public comment forms to go, so you can go ahead and place those there. And just moving forward, we won't have anyone from the public approach the board with any forms. They'll go to the tray there, and if anyone comes after that is not familiar with our process, Eve will go ahead and take care of it from there. Give me one moment. So at this time, the accepting of public comment forms will be closed. Trustee Powell.
Do you want to read your new form or no?
The Board of Education values and welcomes audience participation at its meetings to ensure the orderly conduct of the public comment portion. We adhere to guidelines established by the board's bylaws and policies. We encourage parents, students, and community members to first address their concerns at the building level, beginning with the teacher or building administrator. If the issue remains unresolved, it may be escalated to the appropriate central office administrator and, if necessary, to the superintendent. The board respectfully requests that individuals follow this process before bringing concerns directly to the board. If the process has not been followed, individuals may be directed to the appropriate administrator to ensure the matter is addressed effectively. We do have our bylaws regarding public comment. The guidelines will include, but are not limited to, limiting the time any individual may address the board. Individuals who wish to address the board are required to identify themselves, their address, and any organization they may represent. Advising the public that generally the board and individual board members will not directly respond to comments or questions that arise during the public participation portion of the meeting. Requiring individuals who wish to address the board to direct their comments to the entire board and not to individual board members, the superintendent, other school district employees, or members of the audience. Prohibiting behavior that is abusive, defamatory, discourteous, or otherwise interferes with orderly conduct and timely completion of the board meeting, and excluding from the meeting an individual who engages in conduct that constitutes a breach of peace. Thank you.
Rita Hampton.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You know, I look at board meetings all over the state of Michigan. The longer the board comment page, rules and regs, the more in conflict the school board is in with the community. I'm not addressing everyone. I'm just addressing who I think. But I have to go back to like Dr. Edmondson has said, to be relevant, Romulus Community Schools must be accountable. No one wants to be accountable. He also said effective school boards are accountable, driven, spending less time on operational issues and more time focused on policies to improve student achievement. I would like to see the following things considered by your policy committee. Time limits for current board members. Board members must show degrees, certificates, and certifications. Limiting questions and debates of board members. Sometimes I think I'm on a date night, the longer it goes. Board members who are demonstrating questionable behavior, who are not representative of the high standards of Romulus Community School, should be censored, and also to consider habitual absences. We have board members that have over 15. Therefore, they miss 7 months of board meetings. Board members should be assigned schools within the district. Somebody on the last board meeting in October said, when we walk into a school, when a board member walks into a school, they are saying they represent the students. I went to the school, they said they only seen them one time. These are the things that I would like to see done. Instead of concentrating on me, you, the board members, have standards among yourselves? I told you I had a complaint. Nobody has addressed it or had concerns. The last board meeting when I walked out, the husband was called and waiting at the back door, at the door where I exit with the stink eye. Now, I don't know. I don't talk to the board members. I haven't ever in the 4 or 3.5 years I've been here. I have never spoken to them. I'll put my complaint in writing and address it to the superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hampton. Joseph Chading.
Good evening, board. Good evening, Dr. Edmondson. All right, so I wanted to come up and I wanted to talk to you guys. And also, too, I want to say thank you to Mr. Niedermeyer for his swift response to this issue. But I think this is more of a district-wide thing, and it's truly about how we celebrate our students. So recently, there was a medallion ceremony at the middle school. And so my child, she has a between 3.6, 3.7 GPA, perfect attendance. She's never been in trouble, anything like that. But because of her score on a standardized test, she didn't get any recognition at all. And she's not the only student. Several other students in the school dealt with that same thing. And for me, I think that's, especially if in a district where we're trying to get better, trying to build these kids up, I think that's a failure on our part, you know. So I think, you know, when I thought about that, I'm like, well, what happened to honor roll? What happened to perfect attendance? What happened to excellent attendance? Things of that nature. Even good citizenship, you know, and especially, you know, with the attendance, you know, with us putting so much emphasis on attendance in this district, I think that's definitely something that needs to be recognized on these kids, especially when, you know, some kids, they are trying their hardest. They're coming, and especially the ones that are coming every day, because there's some kids that they might catch the bus to school, but they might duck off somewhere else, you know, so they're still being responsible students by getting themselves where they need to go. And also, too, my daughter, she's an All-American athlete, you know, so it's just, I think when it comes, like, she was heartbroken. She was heartbroken. It's like, you know, she's like, well, I might not be able to get this platinum medallion, but, you know, I think I might be able to get the gold or, you know, something. And when she found out she wasn't getting anything, that was horrible, you know, especially as a dad. And I'm an involved dad. I'm involved in from the classroom. I mean, even when my son was in the district, any issue, hey, call my phone, let me know, I'll be there, you know, because I'm gonna hold my kids to a high standard. And like I said, I don't want the district to have the kids thinking that this ceiling is so high that, you know, my efforts weren't even worth trying. And then you end up getting kids dropping out. You end up getting kids saying, hey, I'm not even, what's the point, you know? So I think it's an issue that we need to correct. I think we have I think you guys did a great job with our leadership over there, because the difference between 2 years ago to now, it's a world of difference. But I think we should do a better job of recognizing our kids. And I just think doing it with adding that standardized test, we know about standardized tests. Like, it don't reflect what the kids know truly. You know, some kids have bad testing days.
Thank you, Mr. Cheney. I'm sorry to cut
is
you
it-
off. I
is
just
that
want
it?
to, I said
Okay.
Mr. Cheney, yeah. I said doctor, and then I said Mr. Cheney. but
All right, but thank you for
Appreciate
at least
you.
hearing my
Thank you.
concerns.
Thank you, Mr.
Absolutely.
Cheney. Kim Glenn? Jarrell? Jarrell Lewis?
Good evening.
Good evening.
First, I'd like to say congratulations to Mrs. Piles and Dr. Kennard for their reelection, and also for Ms. Monifa. So congratulations. And to me, that means that the public, not just one person, the public has spoken. And so all of the foolishness that we hear, I stopped coming to the meetings because it was, to me, foolishness. You get up here and you say the same thing every meeting, every single meeting, but you say you want to push forward. Let's push forward. Leave the past in the past and let's push forward. The public, the community has spoken, not just one person. So they were reelected. Let's just work with who we have and move forward. That's my first point. Second point is, this is my grandson, Terrell Lewis. He goes to the high school. He has had some issues, which he recognizes, we all recognize, as we've been trying to work with him. He's had several suspensions, one of which was Halloween, which they were told they could wear masks to school. Didn't specify you can't wear a ski mask. I mean, it's a mask, which I wouldn't have chosen that, but they were suspended for wearing that. Second thing is he got suspended last week, and I was really kind of disappointed when he tells me he gets suspended. When I get a call from Dr. Petty, I go in on him. I tell Dr. Petty, take him to the bathroom, jack him up, do what you got to do. I go in on him. I'm that grandma. When he's wrong, but when he's treated badly, I'm going to be there to help. The grandparents, this is my grandchild. I go to bat for my grandkids, just like I did my own children. He doesn't have the best parents, but that's not his fault. But when he's wrong, I'm in his butt. But when he's mistreated, you're going to get this right here. And he was crying and upset because he was embarrassed in front of his friends. That's why he cussed you out. So you have something to say?
Apologize for being disrespectful. I know it wasn't right. I shouldn't have. But if you wouldn't have said what you said, I wouldn't have got like that. But I do apologize.
What was you saying in the car about how they treat people? One other thing I want to say, they lost a lot of teachers. You have to understand. They lost a lot of teachers that, my husband's a coach. From a little boy, he was with Miss Carr and Miss Lyman. He lost them. You have to understand, they lost so many people that weren't just teachers. They were, to them, parents.
Yep.
You guys have to have some grace on these kids. You come in there, you had Dr. White, who was cussing at them, treating them like, we won't even say what he was doing. We have to respect these kids. In order to get respect, we got to respect them. We can't talk down to them all the time. Maybe pull them aside. You don't know what they had to deal with the night before. They could have had their parents fighting. They could have had all of this. We have to be better with these kids. We have to. My main objective, I want this board to graduate and be successful. And I would hope that you would be a partner with me and not work against me in any situation. And we're here. I know he doesn't have the best attitude, the best behavior. We know that. We are working on it, and I'm in his butt 24/7. But I need you guys to help us as well. That's all I'm saying. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. I just want to interject. It is want to be fair and consistent. I don't want it to seem like I cut off Mr. Cheney while he was talking, but because two came up and it was definitely a passionate conversation, I wanted to allow them to finish. So I hope no one felt like it's unfair. I'm not just calling y'all out. It was just you went before. So,
We're both on the form.
yes. So
Call them
thank you so
forward.
much.
Yeah.
Do we have another public comment or are we all set?
Nope, we're all
Okay.
set.
So there was a special meeting this at 5:30. So I do want to apologize to our first presentation for Pretty Brown Girls, where we're going to have the audit jump in front of you because they were first and we had to amend the agenda. So I do apologize for that. So can we have, they didn't put your name down, so I do apologize.
Sure. My name is Joe Verlin from Gabridge and Company, and I apologize. I was on 275. It took me 45 minutes to go 3 miles because of two accidents. So anyway,
Understood. Thank you.
Sorry, what was the name?
I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, and I don't intend to cover all 80 pages of the audit. Hopefully that's not too upsetting to anyone. I'm just going to cover the highlights, but certainly if
I'm
there are-
so sorry to interrupt. Can you just state your name one more time?
Sure. Joe Verlin.
Corella?
Yep, Verlin. So I'll cover the highlights of the audit, but certainly if there are questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask. I'm more than happy to take them. What matters more than anything else is on page 1 of the report. Second paragraph down, we wrote, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial condition of the school as of June 30, 2024. What that means is we were provided a set of financial statements and we confirmed and verified the numbers provided to us with the Michigan Department of Education, the county, various financial institutions, and accordingly, we provided this it's considered a clean opinion on your financial statements. This is the highest level of an opinion that we can provide on your financials, and it means that your financial statements were timely, they were accurate, and they were verifiable. It should always be your goal to have a clean opinion on your financial statements, but certainly does mean something to have a clean opinion. We have worked with large organizations that have had either qualified or adverse opinions. So kudos to the staff for their clean opinion. Next, if you go to page 6, we get into the management's discussion and analysis section of the audit report. And this is essentially an 8-page Cliff Note version of the entire audit. We can see financial highlights here. We can see 2-year comparative information, and then reasons behind significant changes in your assets and liabilities and revenues and expenses for the last 2 years. So that first bullet point shows that if we took all the assets of the school and we sold them all and paid all the liabilities, there would be a deficit or not enough assets to pay all the liabilities of $15 million. That's referred to as a deficit net position. And the reason for that is the school is reporting a net pension liability. Virtually every district in the state of Michigan has this deficit net position because of that. So we have this very significant, in your case, about a $37 million liability that's getting recorded on your financial statements. But that liability is going to be paid over the next 40, 50 years. So it's not something that is going to be paid immediately. It's a very much a long-term liability for the school. What does matter more than that first bullet point is the second bullet point. And we can see that total revenues across all funds of the district came in just over $60 million compared to about almost $46 million of expenses, leading to an increase in total net position of about $14 million during the course of the year. In the corporate world, we would call this net income. It's always nice to see if a reader of the financial statements looks at these financials and asks, is the school better off financially at June 30, 2024 compared to 2023? The answer is yes, by roughly $14.2 million. Now, a lot of that has to do with the ESSER funding, which is one-time funds received by the school. Those ESSER funds expired on September 30, 2024. So the real challenge is how do you continue to maintain this level of performance? It's going to be difficult to do on a go-forward basis. At the same time, this was real money that is sitting in the school's bank account. MIPSR's trust. Those assets earned 8%, driving down your long-term net pension liability. The better the return on your assets, the less pressure there is on your general fund. So those good returns are driving down those liabilities. And then 2 rows up from the bottom, the unrestricted net position for the school It doesn't feel good to see a deficit unrestricted net position. You can see it was $66 million as of June 30, 2023. Your unrestricted deficit improved to a deficit of $56.3 million at June 30, 2024. And again, the biggest reason for that is your net pension liability of $48 million. So it's a non-cash liability, or I mean, it is a cash liability, but it's going to be paid over the next 40, 50 years. One more page, if you turn to page 9. This schedule shows revenues and expenses for the last 2 years, and just a couple rows I wanted to point out here. Halfway down the page in the 2024 column, you can see revenues of $60.2 million. That compares to about $56.7 million at June 30, 2023. And then your total expenses, 4 rows up from the bottom, in 2024 were $46 million, just under $46 million, compared to about $42.3 million at June 30, 2023. So each of the past 2 years, the school has had about a $14.2 or $14.5 million increase in your net position. So both years, strong increases in your total net position. And if you look in the 2023 column, 2 rows up from the bottom, the original net position as of June 30, 2022 was $43.8 million deficit. The numbers improved all the way to about a $15 million deficit. So very significant progress has been made on your total net position over the past couple of years. If you go to page 18, we get a look at the fund financial statements. And the very first column shows your general fund performance. This is on the modified accrual or the checkbook basis of accounting. And you can see your general fund had 3 rows up from the bottom, about a $1.7 million increase in your total fund balance. The very next column over to the right, the debt service fund had a $946,510 decrease in fund balance, which is expected. The debt service fund over the course of time should have a fund balance of approximately 0. So the idea is to kind of keep and maintain that at roughly $0 over the long term. And then if you go all the way to the very last column, the total governmental funds had about had an increase in fund balance of $921,726. So essentially, all the other funds of the school get aggregated into that third column, the other governmental funds. They're considered non-major funds. They more or less broke even during the course of the year. If you go now to page 33, we get into the footnote section of the audit report. And this shows the school's long-term obligations. Always nice to see the progress that's being made on your long-term general obligation bonds. The very top row on the bottom schedule shows that your general obligation bonds had a beginning balance at July 1st, 2023 of $39.8 million. About $7.8 million were paid down during the course of the year in the reduction column, leading to an ending balance of about $32 million at June 30, 2024, with another $8 million, just over $8 million scheduled to be paid down on your long-term bonds payable during fiscal 25. And if you go one more page to page 34, that top schedule shows the makeup of the $32 million of bonds, a different series of bonds that remained outstanding at June 30, 2024. And the schedule underneath that shows what your debt service requirements are for each of the next 5 years. And you can see that they range, they drop all the way down, actually 6 years. In 2030, as low as $640,000 of principal and interest that need to be paid. But the next 3 years, basically about $9 million per year of principal and interest payments are required to be made on your long-term bonds payable. Now if you go to page 50, just 2 more pages that I wanted to highlight.
Page what?
Page 50. And page 50 shows your budget to actual results during the course of the year ended June 30, 2024. One of the things that we like to look at as auditors to determine how well our clients have their finger on the pulse of their finances is this schedule here. If you look in the expenditure section, you'll see that every department came in at or below the budgeted amount. So the school did not expend more than what was appropriated in any of the different departments. Certainly a sign that the finances of the school are being managed well during the course of the year, and nobody is spending more than what their allotment is. And then the last page I wanted to point out is on page 68. And this gets us into the federal award section of the audit report. So because the school expends more than $750,000 of federal funds, we not only perform a standard financial statement audit, but we also do a federal single audit as well. And so we take a look at all of your federal funds. We perform a risk assessment. We select on a periodic basis different federal grants, and we look at all the different federal requirements, federal compliance requirements, as well as the Michigan Department of Education compliance requirements. We make sure the school is receiving and expending and reporting those funds in accordance with all those grant terms that are out there. And you can see halfway down the page on the right side, there was a second unmodified opinion. So on the federal awards, we issued an unmodified opinion on the report issued on compliance over your major programs. So this year, we selected the Child Nutrition Cluster, or the Food Service Fund, and your Education Stabilization Fund, or the ESSER funds, as your major programs. And again, came back unmodified. So in other words, you are receiving and expending those funds in accordance with those grant terms. And there were no compliance findings that came to our attention that needed to be brought to the board's attention. So those are the highlights that I have, and I'm certainly happy to take any further questions the board might have.
Madam President. So on page 18, can you explain to me what the government funds for the facilities acquisition, construction, and improvements is? That's the expenditures line, not an, so that's debt, correct? So what would fall into that, would that be our sinking fund?
Yes, so the $1.7 million would be primarily coming from the sinking fund.
Okay,
But if there was anything budgeted within your general fund that was more geared towards long-term assets that have a useful life of more than 1 year, they get coded into the facilities acquisition, construction, and improvements line item.
okay, very good. And also then you had stated on page 50 that it looked as if we weren't overspending our original budgets, but yet as I see, the added needs went up like $700,000. The pupil services went up $900,000. The instructional services went up $900,000. So we were over $200,000. So really, we're spending a little bit more than what we budgeted, correct?
Yes, but that would have been amended through board action to make sure, like, as actual activities become known.
So by voting in other hirings and things like that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then my final question is, oh no, I do have one more, I have two questions. There's a form that was completed, and it states that, it's in this one, that the corrective action plan is dated October 28th. However, it says the anticipated completion date is June 30th of 2024. Is that a typo and it should be 2025?
We had the same finding last year, and yeah, the date wasn't updated. But initially, the original target date was June 30, 2024. It should have been updated to 2025.
So this is a continuation of so it's the same corrective action?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, and then, can I ask you one last question? Did we set aside any money in encumbrance for lawsuits in here? Did we have to make any adjustments for that?
I don't know that anything was set aside. Typically with any type of legal fees, that is something that's just budgeted as a period expense.
Okay,
Normally our clients wouldn't set aside anything.
okay, thank you.
Sure.
Question? Madam President?
Thank you, trustee Evans. Yes, trustee Powell.
I have a follow-up on that. So not for legal fees, but did we have to book a reserve for current or pending litigation? Not the legal fees, but for potential settlements?
I'd have to go back to the work papers and check to see if there was any such liability. I don't recall there being one, but I would have to double check.
Okay, so then if there were to be anything like that, then that would get paid out of general fund? in this next year or whenever that happens? Is that where those funds come from, or?
Depending on the nature of the litigation.
Okay. And I have a question. The repeat finding, it reads that the district's ledger hadn't been properly reconciled and adjusted, and that was a repeat finding. So during this past school year, 23-24, ending on June 30th, you're saying that those general ledger accounts had not been properly reconciled?
A few of them. So generally speaking, the trial balance was in good condition. There were some auditor adjustments that were proposed throughout the course of the audit process. And when we start having auditor proposed adjustments, then we have to include that as a finding. But it is, I mean, in all fairness, it's one of the more common findings that we have
Right.
with our clients.
And that's been a mess for us, so it's not like we haven't made progress, but we've made progress, but I was just, the other question is, I know that there was something in here mentioned about internal controls, and that we've heard that probably for what, at least 3 or 4 consecutive years, so, and it's internal controls, so what is the board's role in that? Because we keep hearing that either we don't have internal controls or we're not following them, so what should we do so that that doesn't keep coming up in our audits?
So there are findings that I think carry more weight than others. If there was a finding that, transactions were lacking documentation or something along those lines, that would be something that would, if I were a board member, I would want to take immediate action to correct those types of findings. When there are findings that simply state that the auditors play a role in preparing the GAAP financial statements, preparing financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, that's one of the more common findings. It means that we are playing a role in recording the long-term net pension liability, the long-term net retiree healthcare obligation. We are reconciling unearned revenues and grants receivable and things of that nature. And it becomes a matter of how much it's a commitment of resources. In order for the board to make that go away, there's a cost benefit to that. And many of our boards simply take the position, it's just too expensive. All the training and all the maybe you need to hire an additional person to address that item. It may or may not be worth it. It's something that the board should at least evaluate and consider. I have some boards that are like, we're not going to have a finding, it's just unacceptable no matter what, and we are going to commit whatever resources we need to prevent that from happening. Others might take the position that, no, let's protect our resources. We'll lean on the audit firm a little bit to help do the full-blown audit preparation, and we're going to save those dollars. It really is a matter of preference.
And it is likely more cost-effective to take that in the audit. We've just had a lot of finance directors in, 6 years, 5 years? And so as we come up on that, I'm just wondering, and we've made a lot of progress in this past year with cleaning up our entries, a lot of progress. But again, as we look at turnover, and we lose that expertise, I'm just wondering what advice, if any, you would give us to help us get, we're always probably going to have that auditor cleaning up, but as far as our internal controls and what we should look for when we get finance reports, or what we can do to help whoever comes next to not let all of this unravel that our current consultant has done.
So as a board member, I would want to see monthly bank reconciliations. I would want to see monthly budget to actual reports, balance sheets. There's a certain set of financial statements I would want to see on a monthly basis, just so I, as a board member, know I can gauge how the school is performing financially, regardless of who is manning that position. And if there is a transition at some point in the future, I would make sure that you still continue to get that type of information, and that there's a plan in place to make sure that you guys are actively monitoring the financial condition of the school, regardless of who's holding that position. I've had clients that have gone through a transition. It's difficult to find somebody to fill those spots. There's not a lot of governmental accountants out there. And they might go 3 or 6 or 9 months without somebody holding that position.
Yes.
And then the finances become a little bit of, can become a problem. So, yeah, making sure that there are good policies, good controls in place, making sure that there's a clear communication in terms of what the board expects to see on a monthly basis is vital. And if there is a period where maybe the transition is taking longer than anticipated, I would continue to look for outside third-party consultants to make sure there is that continuity and there isn't, oh my goodness, we've got 6 months worth of bank statements that need to be reconciled now.
Right,
And,
right.
yeah.
So seeing a monthly bank rec and the budget to actual, that's within a board lane and a finance report?
I would expect at a minimum that I'd also want to be looking at check registers.
We get the check registers.
yeah.
We've had a couple board members ask for bank statements and bank reps, and those have always been denied. So, but I know that I've seen in other board packets, they'll have the bank recs, they'll have the reconciliation summary and detail, they'll have the budget to actual so that you're knowing. But yeah, thank you for your time.
Sure.
Thank you, Dr. Edmondson.
Yes, thank you. So right off the heels of Mr. Cheney, where Mr. Cheney said, hey, it'd be nice if you say somebody's doing a good job, whether it's a student or not. I've been here 3 years ago where we had 14 findings. And I looked for the last 10 years from 2000, when I was here in 2020, I looked for over a decade. There were 14 findings, kept going on and on, 15, 14, 16. So I want to commend Dr. Gistinger and her team to make certain that this is the second year in a row. So, I'm way beyond 2020 at this point.
Sure.
I'm in 2024 that this is the second clean audit that we have had. One finding. We ought to be talking about the one finding. We've gone from 14 to 1, and things seem to be in shape. I would say to Trustee Piles, I would also say to the rest of the board, Dr. Gistinger has really set the tone and set what is to be expected. So, good people, good talent, it costs money, all of us. But you know what? You've set the standard for what is to be expected for the next person that comes through. And we've already had a conversation about transitioning. Whenever that happens, it's not like we're not looking. We are looking, but if it's not right, we're not going to have it. Because I said 2 weeks ago, we're not going backwards. When you get 1, and again, 1 from 14. So I thank you, and I thank your Dr. Gistinger, your team of 2 or 3, team of 3, that we're down to 1. So that should be the expectation of the board, that maybe we get to 0 next year, and that one finding that's still out there, that we address it. And Dr. Gistinger and I and Mr. Graham have had the conversation about, okay, we need to get to 0, because I'd like to get to 0, because it's a great thing to put your district there. So just wanted to say, and Mr. Cheney, I did hear you, and I'm going to go speak on that in a minute, but we need to focus on a lot of things that are happening that are positive. So this is what. Thank you for your time.
Sure, yep.
Thank
glad to be
you.
here.
Next on the agenda, we have a presentation. Before I call them up, I just wanted to say a few things. Although the group is called Pretty Brown Girls, it's important to note that this is a club open to everyone. It's about creating a supportive space for learning, connection, and growth, and welcoming all students of all different backgrounds. I encourage everyone to listen openly and recognize how programs like this strengthen our school community. I want to celebrate the positive opportunities that it brings for all of our students. Inclusion doesn't mean eliminating identity or cultural expression. Instead, it means ensuring that every student feels valued and has opportunities to participate. And as a district, we are committed to supporting programs like this that align with our values in inclusion, diversity, and equity. And without further delay, I will hand the presentation over to Pretty Brown Girls and their representatives. And let's celebrate the positive opportunities again that we bring forward.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. Good evening, everyone.
You are?
I'm going to introduce myself.
Oh.
I'm thinking we should stand this way because I have a presentation for you all. And I want to turn this on. There's also supposed to be a clicker up here. All right. Good evening. My name is Karina Coleman, and I am the partnerships coordinator here at Romulus Community Schools. Today we have a presentation for you all about a program called Pretty Brown Girls. And with me, I have one of our Romulus High School seniors, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jayla Gillette. Sorry. Hello, I'm Jayla Gillette. I'm the brand ambassador for Pretty Brown Girls, and I'm a senior at Romulus High School.
So we're gonna start with a video. It's a 30-second video that will introduce it. Hit it for me. Oh, no, that didn't work. Is it not working? Okay, if we can't get the video, we can just sparkle you all with our dazzling personalities. Go right ahead. Okay, moving on. Ooh, okay, so let's move beyond the video. Jayla here is going to introduce the program a bit. Do you want to stand up here a little bit further?
Okay.
And if you want to stand at that microphone, you can. Which one would you feel more comfortable with?
Right here.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
And then I'll handle the presentation.
Black women are the most disrespected, unprotected, and neglected group in America. Malcolm X said this over 50 years ago, and sadly today is still true. And right here in our school, full of black girls and other girls, have how many of us feel truly seen, heard, or valued. How long are we going to continue to let that happen? I'm Jayla Gillette, and I'm here to tell you it's time for a change. I'm here to start a movement that breaks the cycle of neglect and brings black girls and girls to the forefront.
There is a little bit of information about the Pretty Brown Girls organization. And we have one of the Pretty Brown Girls program directors in the audience as well. All right, continue on, Jayla.
This club isn't about a name or a gathering. It's about breaking the negative stereotypes that has been forced onto black women and girls for decades. We are not ghetto. We are not aggressive. We are not too much. We are leaders. We are powerful. We are brilliant. We are beautiful. This club is a space where we can finally say out loud together unapologetically. The fights, the drama, and the arguments we see every day come from a deeper issue. These girls do not love themselves. How can they? When every message they receive from the outside world is that they are not enough. If we don't teach black girls or girls how to respect themselves, how can they respect each other? In a school where the majority of the students are black and people of color, there is still a lack of unity among us. We see the drama, the arguments, and the misunderstandings. It's all rooted in one thing, a lack of self-love. We don't love ourselves enough to see that we value each other. This club is about changing the narrative. We are here to teach black girls and women of color how to love themselves, how to support each other, and how to rise above the negativity that surrounds us. We need to shift the mindset. We need to create a culture of self-love, empathy, and mutual respect. This club is how we start that process. It's not just about stopping fights. It's about building up our girls to see their own worth so they don't feel the need to tear each other down. Okay, I understand the name might raise some questions, but it's not about shutting anyone out. It's about embracing who we are as black girls. We are celebrating our identity. We're not just any girls. We're pretty brown girls. We deserve to take a space in this world without shrinking. Yeah.
Thank you, Jayla. That was beautiful. Okay, so I'm taking over the next slide. So Pretty Brown Girls is an established organization that we are bringing into the school. I'm sorry, I keep turning that way towards my presentation. So it is an established program that we're bringing in, and you can hear from our program director in a moment. Why isn't it? Okay. So the Romulus High School team is in the process of sharing the information with the students at the high school right now. Details like the day of the week that it'll meet, the time of day that it'll meet, and the location within the high school are things that we have not worked out yet, but we're working it out with the high school team. So right now, Jayla has been putting flyers up all around the school. If you are in the high school in the morning, you'll hear an announcement about Pretty Brown Girls on the morning announcements. We have flyers that are in the office where the counselors are situated. So students can come in and grab a flyer and put it in my mailbox. And lastly, we have QR codes that are posted around the high school. And through that, we found a little bit of data about what the students, what might work best for students. This is some of the data from the interest survey from last week. It's really interesting that we have a really high percentage of 9th graders and 12th graders that are interested. These are 12 responses from the Google form that is linked to the QR code that is all around the high school. So there's a lot of room there for us to invite 10th and 11th graders to join the group. And one of the other questions asks the students to share what they are interested in as far as the program goes. And you can see a lot of them are interested in a new sisterhood experience, creative projects, and self-love activities, which backs up Jayla's points about self-love. So without, that's the basis of the program. It is a club. All students are welcome to join, and we don't have a precise start date or details because we're still working those details out with the high school team, Mr. Petty and Ms. Marino. Any questions?
Well, let me just say, first of all, young lady, you're fabulous. To get up and do that and be as prepared as you are, that's what I'm talking about. And I talk about that a lot of times. That was outstanding. I'm like, oh, somebody's got that on video. I hope so. But that was outstanding. And I know that seemed to come from the heart. I feel a little bit like I'm on one of those shows right now where I'm just talking about somebody. But I want to, first of all, thank you. To Ms. Coleman, we've had this conversation, and I asked Ms. Coleman, I said, we need something for our girls. I said, we do. Of course, we need something for our boys, too, but we need something for our girls. I've been in the high school a lot and the middle school, and I see exactly what you said. And I think it's our district's opportunity to be bold and unapologetic. What we need to apologize for, okay? If you recognize that you have an issue or a problem, then you address it. You don't hide from it. It's open to any girl. Okay, I think a lot of people could learn from a Black perspective, honestly, to hear from Black girls to talk about issues. Okay, it's not just Black issues, it's just issues in general, but I think it's important. So again, I know we had been talking about that last year. I said, that is what I need you to do, and you've done it, so I thank you. We need to keep this momentum going, and I can share with the board that, I am in high school on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and coming down on a student last month. And I said, listen, I need you to go around. I said, I'm not going to suspend you, but you're going to go around and you're going to get that QR code. And then you come and talk to me tomorrow about what you learned and if it's something that you want to do. I said, I'm not going to send you out. This is what I thought she needed. And she was one of the first ones to sign up here. But I want all girls. I envision all girls. It doesn't matter what they are, but I have no shame saying, why not Black girls? Okay, they deserve, just like you said, they deserve, we deserve, okay, and we don't need to make apologies to anybody for that, okay? You recognize it's an internal issue in our community, okay, and we're doing something about it. So I thank you so much. If we only have 12 right now, can I get, do we want to double that when, to 24 by when?
The program is for 15 weeks and 20 people, but we can expand
it's not free. Not free.
Right, it's not.
free.
How much was it?
It was $7,000
Look at me. It is what it is.
for
is
20
what it is.
students in 15 weeks. Yes,
It's what it is.
approximately 7,000.
And listen, if we get what we want out of it, then guess what? It was a great investment that we will continue to invest in. Okay. So I need you to know that. I'm not worried about money or anything like that. If we get the results that we get, then we go on, we keep moving on. But it's your responsibility to move this program forward. Okay? Sometimes you don't have the push of teachers. They're not going to push other girls to be in there. But I need you to push, and the other 12 or 11 girls that are in there to push and demand that we have programs like this. And it's on you to keep it going. And if it's not working, then we need to fix it so that it does work. So I'm done. Thank you so much for what you've done up here. I'm just so proud of you. Absolutely. Now, can I get that name again? The name again, please. Don't say pretty brown girl. I already know that. What's your name?
Jayla Gillette.
Jayla Gillette. Thank you, Jayla? Jayla.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Miss Coleman, thank you.
So my question is this an after-school
We haven't
club?
identified what time of day it's gonna take place yet.
Right.
We're gonna work with Mr. Petty and the counselors. It can take place any time of day that we choose.
Okay.
We work with the program directors to find a time of day that works best for the school.
Okay, because, yeah, I was wondering, the 12
Absolutely.
responses, was it presented as, something after school, and maybe there were transportation barriers or students involved in other curriculum?
It wasn't
extracurricular
presented
activities,
as
or-
anything after school. It was honestly a tad vague, like, are you interested in
Okay.
these topics? Are you interested in self-love? Are you interested in this, this, and this? And it's like, sign up and then we will have more details because we wanted to see who signed up.
Okay.
If we have a bunch of 12th graders, that might look different for their schedules compared to a bunch of 9th graders. And we don't want transportation to be a barrier. That's very important to us, that we're not holding it after school and excluding certain students because they don't have a ride.
Sure. Thank you.
So one of the things that I think where you could get your numbers better is how it's presented. So if you just have it as a flyer, a lot of kids are going to walk by that. What you need is the buy-in of the staff to say, okay, during second hour, because I've seen them do it before on certain things, during second hour, everybody presents this in their class. Now you've gotten people, say, kids have to pay attention in that second hour, whatever it is. But if it's just going to be on the wall, okay, a lot of kids are going to walk by, they don't read it, and that's not their fault. You just don't pay attention to the stuff. But if we want to double, when I ask you, do you want to double, or that's how you do it. You have it during class, and you have every teacher. And it comes better when it's from a student that says, hey, why can't we get the teachers, not the adults? So if you can get that, I guarantee you can increase your numbers. But keep up the good work.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next, we have a Romulus Middle School 7th and 8th grade Mackinac Island field trip presentation by Principal Van Hooks from the middle school.
Good evening to this board. Excuse me. Oh, good evening to this board. My name is Philip Van Hooks, principal of Romulus Middle School, our Service Learning Institute. I am here with our student council advisor, Ms. Maxwell, and he was here a second ago, Mr. Robinson, one of our ambassadors, to present a proposal to this board for our 7th and 8th grade students to attend a field trip to Mackinac Island, May 29th, 30th, and 31st of 2005. Before I get into the presentation, I'd just like to share some comments with you that I have from our parents. In early October, reached out to our parents for interest in starting a parent advisory board. And one of the questions I asked our parents was, what do you see as your child's greatest strengths? And in that, they said smart, ambitious, loves nature, loves animals, the tenacity to excel in every class, consistency to show up every day, and compassion for their fellow classmates. Kind, organized, dedicated, hardworking. Next question. Next June, what do you hope for, or what do you hope your child says about his or her experience in this school this year? Two comments I'd like to point out. she has improved her study skills. Her education has become important to her. That she feels fulfilled and like she was given the tools she needed to succeed. And one last question that I asked our parents, what was your experience like in this grade? And our parents, one of the comments I'd like to highlight, I had a blast, and it was a good academic experience. As a student, I participated in extracurricular activities and clubs. So with that being said, we move forward with an opportunity to do some research for this field trip to Mackinac Island. When we look at when we look at the cost of the field trip, we're looking at a potential of 80 students attending the field trip in groups of 4 in each room at a cost of $745 per student. Looking at 4 adult chaperones paying a cost of $850 for to be booked up, doubled up in rooms, and then 4 non-paying adult chaperones and 1 tour director, all attending this wonderful opportunity. When you look at the cost, and I'll share this later on in the presentation. When you look at the cost, the company that we're working with, Student Adventures, has set up a what I feel is a magnificent way of helping our students raise money for their experience through crowdsourcing. And the Student Adventures sets up the students with individual accounts, and through the individual accounts, they give the students opportunity to share links with their family and friends and relatives through their Twitter accounts, Instagram, to raise money, to help them raise the funds that they need for this experience. In addition to that, we are looking at ways of raising funds at site at Romulus Middle School through our middle school sporting, after-school sporting events, and our Student Advisory Council has offered to pay for a student's experience and opportunity to attend the field trip as well. So with the crowdsourcing, we're looking at the individual billing. When we look at the individual billing, Student Adventures provides at no charge to all their customers as part of the EasyTrack online tour management service. Participants can register online and make payments directly to Student Adventures. Trip sponsors may cancel the tour for any reason up to 30 days after the initial deposit date to receive a full refund, less any non-refundable vendor deposits. We are looking to make sure that that the fixed costs for our trip, those expenses that remain unchanged regardless of the number of trip participants. And when we look, and you'll see, we've already sent out surveys to parents. We had 63 respondents for a survey, and out of that 63 respondents, 47% of those respondents were prepared and anxious and really enthused about their children being able to attend this trip. So out of a potential 80, we've got 30 who we know are raring to go. Trip sponsors may cancel the tour for any reason up to 30 days after the initial deposit date. If we do not reach the required number, we may cancel our tour at any time and receive a full refund, less non-refundable vendor deposits. In the event the group has enough participants signed up and the entire group needs to cancel for any reason, 31 days on or after the initial deposit date, cancellation penalties will be assessed at the following rates. So when we look at those rates, 31 days from the initial deposit due date to 121 days prior to departure, 25% of the tour costs. 120 to 91 days prior to departure, 35% of the tour costs. 90 to 31 days prior to departure, 50% of the tour costs, and 60 to 0 days prior to departure, 100% of the tour costs. So we are coming to you now in attempt to confirm our board's permission, good graces, so that we can move forward and plan this event properly, so that we can get all of our students on board, so we can work to raise the funds for this event. When we look at our cancellation policies that the Student Adventures has for us, this policy is for every participant who travels with Student Adventures and chooses not to purchase the cancellation super protector. We may cancel our reservations and receive a full refund within 5 days following our initial payment. Beyond the 5-day grace period, if we or the trip sponsor or school administration cancel our reservation for any reason, Student Adventures will base our refund from the schedule that is listed above, which I have listed here for you. I want to make sure I try to get through this to expedite time. When we look at the cancellation super protection policy, which I think is critical, individual cancellation super protection policy, with the purchase of this CSP program, if the trip is canceled for any reason, either by the individual or the school, all monies will be refunded, minus the cost of the CSP policy and non-refundable fees. This individual CSP cost is at $109 per student, $119 per adult. If we as a school collectively purchase the CSP program, it is $79 per person. And then while we are trying to do this, we want to have our students, when we look at providing our students with a fun, memorable experience for their middle school career, when this was brought to my attention, having our students attend or go to Sleeping Bear Dunes on the 29th. Bonfire on the Beach, May 29th, and this is the actual beach for the hotel that they will be staying at. I haven't pronounced this word right yet. Tequamanon Falls, thank you kindly. State Park, May 30th. The Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum, May 30th. A cruise for Pictured Rocks, May 30th. Shipler's Ferry to Mackinac Island, May 31st. A trip to Fort Mackinac, May 31st. And if they can afford it, Mackinac Island Main Street Shops, May 31st. And this is just going back to what I shared earlier, surveys that we had with the parents. 63 respondents from our 7th and 8th grade parents, where 49.2% of those parents said yes, that they felt that it was a reasonable cost for them to be able to pay, with another 39% with giving us a strong maybe. We've had a virtual parent meeting to discuss this further. From that parent meeting, we decided to bring the question to the board. And then finally, not only do we have 6 of our staff who are interested in chaperoning, we also, out of the respondents, 36% of the respondents were interested and willing to serve as chaperones for this event as well. So with that being said, I'd like to bring this question before the board just as an opportunity once again to serve our middle school students with a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, it'll be on the next.
For next meeting.
I just have a question, Madam President. I was looking at the pay schedule, and we're seeing 80 students, 4 adults in double rooms, and then we said 4 non-paying adults in double room. How will their rooms be covered?
Their rooms would be covered as part of the expenses that all students and paying adults would pay into. So a portion of those payments would go to help pay for those non-paying adults. Because we're going to have staff attending the trip, so we
Okay.
can't necessarily have staff pay to work.
Okay.
Okay, so I,
And a tour director.
and a tour director.
It's a tour director as well.
Madam
I
President,
just got down to the
Right.
tour director too, so we have 5 people whose expenses will be covered out of the monies that everyone else pays.
Correct. In addition to the funds that we'll be raising.
Madam President,
Yes.
are you to finish,
Yeah.
Ms. Wester? So, this is a thorn in my side, and I've said it about every field trip. Students do not pay for adults, period. If they are quoting prices, and we have 4 adults for free, that should be taken off of the cost of the students, period. So if we have 88 people, what is the total for 88 people to go? And divide that equally.
89.
Well, the tour director is, it's encumbered in their fee, right? The tour director would be part of the company that we,
Like, didn't you say that the tour director and the 8 chaperones?
The tour director is a part of Student Adventures.
right,
The
so.
four chaperones are the staff members coming from.
Okay, so
This-
we need-
no,
so
the
we need a
tour director is-
cost Of what the tour director's cost.
That's part of the sub, that, to me, that would be part of the overall cost of 88 people, correct? So, again, don't mean to be like this, but if it costs a student $745 and someone gets to go free because that student is paying for it, I have a real problem with that. Students, everybody should pay the same, okay? If you're, and I know there's teachers, and I know there's chaperones, but why should I travel free on some student? I'm just putting it out there. I used to do field trip forms, and nobody went for free. No one. And that's a thorn in my side. I will be very, very honest with you, a thorn in my side. Students should not pay for an adult.
And this board has determined in the past, because you've brought that to us, and this board has determined that there would not be any free adults on field trips.
So if, I mean, I can do the math quickly,
I bet she can.
and I will gladly do it, but it should be divided, the total cost should be divided amongst 88 people.
We can revise the calculation.
And I don't mean to be aggressive. I am protecting students. And you don't know, maybe another student could go because it would drop the price possibly. So, and my next question is, how are these 80 students selected?
All of our 7th and 8th grade students would have the opportunity. We would go based off of the initial down payments or deposits provided by the
So
parents.
your target is 80, it's not that 80 students have been selected?
Correct.
Okay, all right, very good. So it's
Right.
an opportunity for all 7th and 8th graders?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So there's only 80 total 7th and 8th graders?
There are 80, right now, we have budgeted for 80.
They budgeted for 80.
If we develop a waiting list and that number is able to increase, we can work with Student Adventures, because right now we have, we're looking to reserve 2 motor coaches.
Okay.
But that's just based off of when we consider the expense, the overall expense for the trip, as well as the time between now and that May 29th date, looking at the various target dates that we have to hit for refunds potentially.
Right, so if you got 120 kids interested, you'd have to get a 3rd motor coach, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's what it is. They're just,
Yeah.
they're
it.
targeting, they hope to
There's-
get
yeah.
80, roughly.
Correct.
So thank
Protect
you
these prices.
to you and whatever staff are working to make these experiences for our students, because we used to have these trips, at least for 8th graders at the end of the year, and they've just fell by the wayside. So thank you for that. I do want to mention that last year, staff was working together to plan a Washington DC trip for the 8th graders, and there was an overwhelming response of interest, but then when there was a down payment required of $200, and there was suddenly this overwhelming response went down to maybe what was like 25 or 30 people actually put the deposit. So my concern is that, one, if we are, asking students to ask family and friends to donate to this, and then what happens with donated funds if the trip doesn't happen, or I guess not if it doesn't happen, if we lose money because it doesn't happen, then people who have donated to the middle school students, and then part of that money will just be like wasted. I'm just wondering how our community will receive that if we don't have enough students to go. The other thing is, what will we do for students who maybe don't, some students might have networks and their parents have expanded networks to get donations, but what about our students who do not have vast networks and really don't have people to ask, and then they don't get any donations? Is there any backup plans for those students?
Well, that's why we have established a target number for 80 students, because we know not everyone's going to be able to afford to pay for this. When we look at establishing fundraisers, as we generate money from those fundraisers, we can see in terms of looking at, we can't necessarily make projections because you never know from one time to the next what's going to happen with any one type event. We really have to just, as you said, based off of your experience from last year, we don't want to make this so large that it become impossible for us to complete. So we've started relatively with looking at 1/4 of our 7th and 8th grade students, because we've got 300 7th and 8th graders total. So with that target of 80 students, see what we can do with that number and go from there. And if after those dates, as we look at those dates for refunds, if we find that we can't hit our numbers for fundraising, and our students are having challenges raising their own dollars through their crowdsourcing, whatever reasons, if we have to make cancellations, then we do so knowing, because we'll share this information with all of our students' parents as well in terms of what that money will look like in terms of refunding.
And I guess my last concern is, and I don't know the answer, so I'll just throw it out for concern and let the specialist figure out the answer. But there's 300 7th and 8th graders, and we're talking about 80 going because we know that not everyone will be able to afford it or raise the funds. That makes me feel badly, that there could be students that would benefit from this and would want to go, but simply can't raise the funds or don't have the network. So I'm just wondering if there's a plan B that maybe we can think of so nobody gets left out for lack of financial ability to go.
So I just wanted to add, Student Council is also going to be donating $750 towards sponsoring.
Right.
Originally, we were talking about sponsoring one student, but we're also open to splitting it up. So if we wanted to do like 3 students at $250 each, something like that, we're open to that as well. So that is an option if we wanted to go that route as well.
Yep.
So.
And that helps. There's, just when I hear 300, and then we're going to shoot for 80, because that's probably all that we'll be able to, and there may be just, behavior problems. Kids will sometimes weed themselves out there, but it's just the not having the means, and because typically those are the kids that always get left out of stuff and don't have these experiences because they don't have the funds. So, yeah, I'm grateful to our student council and the $700, but again, looking at 380, but I don't know what that answer is. I just wanted to raise the concern.
And not to be like negative Nancy, but sometimes students just can't go, like even if it's going to Sky Zone and it's a field trip. And then it might be some parents saying, you're not going all the way to Mackinac without me. So it's just, we put it out there. Hopefully we get the 80 so we can have a successful field trip, and then we build from there. But just sometimes when you make decisions like this, everybody can't go. That's just my take on just looking at field trips in my building. Like, we're going to Sky Zone, but everybody not going, and it's not even behaviors. Mom might not have a check that week, or your mom is saying you're not going on the field trip. So that's just my take on it.
All right, Madam President. may I-
Yes.
Okay, so you're budgeting for 80, but I heard you say 30 in your presentation. That's 30 who are that was interested?
We have out of the 63 individuals who responded to our initial survey, 49% of them said that it was a reasonable fee for attending this trip, a trip of this magnitude.
Okay, it's reasonable, okay. So, the questions that I had has been answered, okay? But I do want to say this, is that I myself had been to Mackinac Island, so.
You have?
I have not.
Count
okay?
her in. She's
So-
in. She's paying. I'm gonna go.
So when I was sitting here
rather
looking at
not.
the presentation, I first want to commend the fact that you're taking on such a task as this, because our students need to be introduced, to things that they relatively are normally, have the opportunity to attend and go to. So this is something that we as a board have been having discussions and, some of my thoughts and whatever in terms of what could we do for our students to give them that type of exposure. And so this is something that I think that they would very much benefit. And hopefully, we get a good turnout for this as well. And so what are some of the fundraisers that you are possibly going to foresee happening, or have you already started?
Well, we haven't started any fundraisers
Okay.
without the approval from the board.
Okay,
Stimulus
so do you have
response.
anything in mind, or is it something, or is it just too preliminary?
It's too preliminary.
Too
for us
preliminary
to-
right now?
Without getting
Okay.
a green light from the board,
Okay.
I don't do that.
So have they ever, I know you're new to the district. I guess my question would be, in the past, what type of, or are you aware of the types of, end of the year's trips that the students have had the opportunity to participate in? Has there been, or you're not aware of any?
I'm not
You're not aware of
I'm
anything?
not aware of that.
Okay, all right. So I think this is a great opportunity. I think and hope that our students would take every advantage of it if they could. And hopefully that those who want to go can participate and go. And let us know. I don't know what we could do as a board, but I'm quite sure we can probably have some type of discussion.
Well, rather than, yeah,
Yeah.
rather than sponsoring a student, if the money went to just period to the bottom line, that would be more beneficial and fair.
We might have a board member who want to sponsor students.
Yeah,
Listen, I was gonna go and just say, listen, bottom line for me, because I get hit all the time. He makes all this money.
Yeah.
I'll sponsor 2 students, but I'm gonna choose how I want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going, if it's my money, I'm gonna choose how I want
that's
to do it.
true, that's true.
So I'm saying
'Cause
I will
you're
do
an
2.
individual, right.
Okay, but I know what my criteria will be. I'm not gonna say it right here, but I know what it will be.
Yeah.
And I hope that you have criteria that I'm sure that you do. I want to make sure that if kids go, that we can trust them. That's it. I mean, that's a big one for me.
Well, let me just say about the sand dunes. You get down on that sand dune and you can't get back up. You really
You
don't
gotta
want
pay to get back up.
It's $3,000 is a small amount.
I'm not
And you're
paying
gonna get some kids that are like, oh, I can get back down there. Oh, yeah, go it, try it.
So my last question would be, hypothetically speaking, if we reach the target of 80 students, are we able to accommodate, that's probably premature as well, but we should be, you're budgeting for 80, but I would hopefully think that we'll be able to have the support, chaperone, or whatever it is to accommodate all 80 students. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And that, I'm sorry, that will be, so just for the board to know, having been in education for 30 years too, but he said it, it's hard as for a teacher too to say, well, I'm gonna give up, I'm gonna pay $750 to go with, no, I'm gonna say this hypothetically. I ain't going with bad kids. I mean, that's not to say that they're bad, but I'm just saying, you're like, listen, if I'm gonna pay $750, I'm gonna go somewhere that I wanna go with my family or something like that. So that's part of it is that, and I agree, because I said that from day one, I said, you have to know how it's gonna work at this table. They're not gonna let anybody, I already know how that goes. But on the flip side, if you can't get chaperones because they don't want to pay, but I'm just saying, I will do too. I'll choose how I want to do it. But I want my money back. If it doesn't work, I want my money back. But I'll give that quickly.
That $79
I ain't
inspection.
taking anything out of mine.
Okay, he
That might,
explained what
that
happened
might
when it gets to
silence
the
some of this
numbers.
stuff.
So I do have one more observation on these forms. One form, your cancellation penalties says 90 to 31 days, 50%, and then it says 60 to 0 days, 100%. Then on the next sheet, it says 90 to 6150 and 60 to 0. So is it a 30-day window, 0?
When you look at, where it says standard, individual cancellation
Right.
policy, it says, tour costs returned with, standard cancellation policy. So
Okay, but
with
the
standard
dates, the days are different on these two forms, is what I'm saying. 90 to 31, and then the next line says 60 to 0. And then the next form says 90 to 61 and 60 to 0. So is it 60 days that we get 50% back? Or is it 30 days that we get 30? You see what I'm saying?
I have to go back into my records. and
Right,
confirm.
but it's a typo, and I think it should be 90 to 61 on this first page. But, or is it 30 days to 0, 30 to 0?
It's saying it's 0 to 60 days. Your penalty is 100% of.
I understand that, it's the days, Debbie, not the percentages, the days.
All right, Mr. Van Hooks, I think you
Okay.
got
Yes.
us. You gonna come with all that you need.
Okay, all right.
It should be a
Appreciate your
fun trip, it
presentation.
should really be fun. Where will they be spending the nights, what towns?
Mackinac City. There'll
Okay.
be- The hotel's in Mackinac City.
I might. But, no, the question is, because you're going to Tequamanon, which is northwest, okay? And then you're going to come back south all on the same day and spend the night?
Yeah, the tour.
I know, but I'm just saying it's a lot of travel in one day to go northwest.
Well, once this is
and come
approved,
back.
Sue can come in and talk to the students about where they can visit.
The
Yes.
agenda
I'll get on the bus and tell them where to go. No,
All right.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just see it, it just looks like a lot of travel. And I want them to have fun.
Next on the agenda, we have our consent agenda. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the November 25th, 2024 consent agenda as presented. Matters listed under the consent agenda.
One meeting, please.
Matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If any member of the board or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion. A is the approval of the minutes for the November 11th, 2024 regular board meeting. Support.
Then motion by Wester, supported by Kennard.
Kennard,
Yes.
Westers, yes. Piles,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Laster.
Yes,
Motion is approved.
thank you. We are at the report of the superintendent.
Thank you. Just a few things. I believe we had 145 students at the middle school for their academic ceremony. Mr. Van Hooks challenged the students to 280 students making it next time. I said, what are you going to give them? That's what I asked him. What are you going to give them if we get 280? He's like, I don't know yet. I said, well, we're going to have to give them something. And I said, I'll be willing to work with the district. I don't know what that is, party, something, if we can get 280. Listen, I don't make any apologies about what I want for kids in terms of having high standards for them. I sat in on this, if you didn't know, I asked last year, I said, we need to have a ceremony for kids. When I was principal of Scarlett Middle School in Ann Arbor, we flipped the culture because we made achievement something that kids wanted to do, and you need to recognize them. So I worked with the high school this year as well, and I worked with the middle school principals afterwards. But I said it's their responsibility to manage their building as to what is the criteria. That's not my job. But I did say there needs to be something for improvement. I mean, there's plenty of kids that are improving that everybody's not going to be an A student. Everybody's not going to be an AB student. What about the kid that comes every single day and tries extremely hard but just can't do it? We need to look out for that. So I just told them to be a little bit more, not more, just be mindful of that moving forward. That middle school has done theirs, but the high school, I said, listen, we need to have an improvement, something for improvement, whether it's they've reduced suspensions or they've reduced tardies or they've reduced, let's continue to put our kids out there. I know this one, I got a couple calls from middle school parents that were concerned that their child did not make it because of the NWEA growth. I get what parents say, but also get from us too, what we're trying to do. We are focusing on growth and you get dinged if you don't get it. So we want to do that. But I think that there could be a happy medium that we need to consider. Again, I don't manage their schools. That's their job. And me as a leader, I don't micromanage. Go do whatever you need to do. But it needs to be consistent and it needs to be clear to parents and students. And I said, if it's not clear and we made a mistake, then you go ahead and you say, hey, listen, my bad, and give the kid a medal or whatever it is if we made the mistake. I was equally, I guess I was happy that when I walked in, that half the kids on the left side, it was like equal, almost equal in what I saw. Just the eye test, or maybe more kids on the right that didn't make the medal, but equally 145-ish. I was pretty pleased there for the first marking period. Hopefully that goes up there. And I like the culture that's there, but I also understand how parents, when you have a child and your child doesn't make it, how devastating that is. But it's a great opportunity to talk to your child as well. But I'm, to Mr. Cheney in particular, I feel for your daughter there, and she heard my tough words afterwards. I said some tough things to kids about what I expect. I wasn't thinking about who didn't make the NWEA. It was just like what I expect, and I'm excited for kids. And I'm glad that we do have something that to which they can aspire and achieve, that we're putting, achievement out there where kids think it's okay. It's okay to achieve. So again, I want to thank Mr. Van Hooks and his team, and I know Ms. Maxwell did. Your whole student council put it together too. So thank you for that. But also make sure we reach out to kids who really care about achievement and they didn't make it. There should maybe be a conversation with those kids to say, listen, just a little bit more effort, or maybe you go into something in terms of improvement. But we'll have that conversation. But again, you run your building. I don't run your building. I just hold people accountable for it. But this is to Mr. Van Hook, so I'm looking at. You run your building. Okay. But if we can get to achievement, if we can get an improvement, it might be something that we want to consider. Earlier, yes.
I had a question to that. So, and thank you for addressing that. Where there's an instance where students do have the A's, right? Let's say they have the A's, they have no behavior issues, they have the perfect or very good attendance, but there hasn't been the growth. And it could be because they're already testing grade level, because you're testing way beyond grade level, sometimes those students don't have as much growth. But my question is, that if that's the criteria and that's what we're doing, then is anyone looking at the number of students who did not have the growth and why they didn't have the growth and attacking that, rather than just letting students feel penalized by not receiving a medallion?
That's an excellent question. I can't answer that, but that's an excellent question to ask, or to get the kids and figure out why, because it'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to know when you use data. So Mr. Van Hooks can hear. I'll let him run with that there on that. So,
Dr. Edmondson, can I ask?
yeah,
Sorry.
for me.
So,
for
well,
Mr. Van
just
Hooks.
a question/comment. In the elementary buildings, we have award ceremonies. They get certificates for perfect attendance. They get certificates for citizenship. They get all of the things that Mr. Cheney stated. And then they come to the middle school, and they're on the honor roll, and it's like, poof, you don't matter. Oh, I was here every day, and my parents didn't get a call for me being tardy. My parents, doesn't matter. Too bad. We give awards for gym. Oh, you did great in gym. The students are acknowledged at the elementary level on so many instances, they get so many accolades, and then they get to the middle school, and because you didn't hit the NWEA, and you yourself said, not everyone is college bound. But your life skills aren't acknowledged? I mean, to me, that's,
Oh, I get what you're saying.
I can
The thing
understand
that I would
how the
say-
young lady felt like, well, why should I even go to school?
Yeah, I can get that, but I can also get that last year there wasn't anything. We finally have something. So now we have some, right, because I
We
brought
need
it.
to take
Right.
all
Prior
students
to that,
into
we did not.
consideration. All
So
students.
yes, you should, but also we're not in a place where, I don't want to say what district, if you had said that, I'd say go to such and such, but I'm not going to say that. You don't give everybody everything. I mean, it's just, you try to do as much as you can. That's why we have a PBIS person that's here doing some of these things. That's exactly what we're doing, exactly what we're going to do and doing. But let's not just, again, this is something that we didn't do before. So that now that we have it, I'm glad that kids are conscientious and care about that. And I'm glad that we're doing it. Like anything else, I would hope that this evolves into something even more. But I'm like, you don't know
And
what you know.
maybe we need to do a different type of award ceremony, where the general awards are, you do an NWEA award ceremony, but you also then do the acknowledgement of your everyday student that has busted their butts to attend, come sick, do everything, their homework, everything. To acknowledge the general population, not just the students because they scored well on a test.
But it isn't just because they scored well on the test. Just so we're clear, it isn't just because they scored. That's a portion of it. That is a portion. It's not only. So we certainly want to make certain, or we want to make certain that
Well,
kids get
that's
their
what was stated,
opportunities.
is that it was the
But
NWEA scores.
that's a portion of it. But again, for me, you have the principal here, and we let him decide what he needs to do. He heard what you said, but what he needs to do. Okay, if that's what we need to do, then I'm sure that he'll work on that. But he just got here; he barely knows what's going on. So again, I commend you. Even Mr. Niedermeyer, same thing. You two are trying to work together to try to create the environment that we want, and you're working on it. So you just hear some other things, and you can't please everybody all the time. Keep doing what you're doing. You've heard some feedback. I've given you some feedback. Go run your school. Appreciate it. Another thing that, I need the board to know, part of the criteria at the high school that came through the middle school, but it was part of the middle school, I said it, 85% attendance. Okay, you all should have a problem with that, because I do. Because 85% makes you chronically absent. Has to be 91%. If we're going to acknowledge people, I want to acknowledge 91%, because otherwise, and Dr. Cheney, wife of Mr. Cheney, knows, we know, like we sit there, or she did for the last year, working with us every other week on this stuff. 85% cannot be the criteria here, because you're chronically absent, and that's what all districts I would say most districts in the United States have a chronic absence issue. So I'm just trying to push them toward moving that up. 85% doesn't work for me, okay? And it shouldn't work for you, because 90% is chronic, 91% is not. So we're trying to move on there too. Looks like I don't really have much else to say except
We are moving on. You
go
good?
Bucks.
Okay.
Okay.
We are at the report of the Director of Human Resources, the great Kevin Brock. He has a couple of action items. I know 2 weeks ago, we had a plethora of presentations from him and Mr. Dennison to explain and go over what we would be presented today. I did not receive any feedback from board members, not to say that you don't have any questions per se right now, because I know this is a lot under his report, but if we don't have anything.
Well, Madam President, do
Okay.
you want the action items read one by one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
I
right.
appreciate you.
All right, Madam President and Board. Recommended motion, move that the Board of Education approves the Junior Systems Administrator position as presented. The rationale is the role of the Junior Systems Administrator is critical to the effective operation of the district's technology infrastructure, as technology continues to play an increasingly essential role in education. This position will ensure the reliability, security, and efficiency in the district's IT systems, directly supporting staff, students, and administrative functions. They will also work closely with the senior IT staff to maintain network and server systems, troubleshoot technical issues, and support educational technology, ensuring a reliable, secure, and accessible digital experience for staff, students, and administration. The budget implications is integrated technology number 1128461630001 and 8 zeros afterwards. In the exhibits, we have the job description.
Support.
It's been motioned by Kennard, supported by Wester. Any discussion?
I just wanted to make sure I understood that last week it was stated that these are not going to be new hires, but more of internal
Already
placements.
in place, yes.
Right? And this, also the salaries on here are 50 to 60,000 for the salary. And that, we don't have the motion number on the motion sheet.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, that is correct. We are not hiring additional 2 people. We would just be moving internally to.
Moving your techs up.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Pardon?
Kennard.
Okay, that's
Were
it.
you mentioning the salary wasn't listed? Was
No,
that
it's
what-
on
Correct.
the.
The salary wasn't listed on the motion, and the motion number isn't on the motion.
So are they just getting a raise for doing more work? Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes. We have 3 that are network specialists now. And the average, the state average is about $65,000 per year. What I'm trying to do is move my department forward, have an actual technology department. And those are 2 very vital positions.
Are you able to disclose their salary now or no?
Theirs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that, I think 2 weeks ago. It was like about $22 an hour right now that they're making.
And then will those positions be filled then?
No.
Okay, so, all right.
Any
So
other?
actually, they're just maintaining what they're doing with added responsibility.
They would be changing
Changing
responsibilities.
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 Okay, all right.
Yes, it's kind of a creating of a new position, but we're just moving his staff into these new
Yeah, I'm
positions.
totally moving everything
just
around,
moving them.
yep.
Okay.
Right now, I have 3 people that
You're
do the same
revamping your-
thing.
your
To do the
department,
same thing,
basically.
yes. Yep.
All right.
Kennard.
Yes.
Wester is yes. Piles.
Yes.
Evetts.
Yes.
McCarthy.
Yes.
Laster.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank
Good board.
Okay, thank you. Recommended motion, Madam President and Board, move that the Board of Education approve the IT Security Analyst 1 position as presented. The creation of the IT Security Analyst 1 position is a vital step in safeguarding the district's technology infrastructure, data, and operations. As cybersecurity threats grow increasingly sophisticated and educational institutions become prime targets, this role ensures the district system remains secure, compliant, and resilient. Working under the guidance of the Director of Technology or IT Security Manager, the IT Security Analysis 1 assists in implementing, monitoring, and maintaining security controls, as well as responding to security incidents to protect students, staff, and district resources. The budget implications is integrated technology with a salary between 50 and 60K, 11-284-1630-001, 4 zeros, and the exhibits is in the job description.
Support.
It's been motioned by Kennard, supported by Wester. Any discussion? Roll call.
Kennard.
Yes.
Laster.
Yes.
McCarthy.
Yes.
Evetts.
Yes.
Piles.
Yes.
Wester, yes. Motion is approved.
Madam President and Board, the next recommended motion is move that the Board of Education approves salary increase for Sandy SOLGOT. Solgat, RECC Administrative Assistant as presented. The rationale, The administrative assistant plays a pivotal role in the daily operations of GSRP, supporting the efficiency and effectiveness of staff, programs, and services. Adjusting the salary of this position to reflect its responsibilities and market conditions is not only fair, but strategically beneficial for GSRP, and the district current contract salary is $42,900, which is a 20.62 an hour. We are proposing an increase to $49,920, which is $24 per hour for the remainder of the 24-25 school year ending June 30, 2025. The budget implication, 88% GSRP grant number 1122616220040003430, and 12% Smart Start Program 1126616220004, 8 zeros at the end. The exhibits is in the board packet.
Support.
There's none.
It's been motioned by Kennard, supported by Wester. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
So this 24 an hour, is this, Mr. Brock, is this what the other building secretaries are making? Are
We
they
asked that,
getting the
yeah,
24?
we asked that, and we didn't know.
I didn't look in, I mean, I can go look real quick. I didn't look at it, to be honest with you. It's on par, it's pretty close to what they're making. They just settled a collective bargaining agreement.
Right.
It's probably a little bit more than what they're making, but she works year-round also. We have one other year-round employee that is in a collective bargaining agreement.
Then my other question is, where it says that the increase to 49,920 for the remainder of the school year, does that mean it's prorated from now to the end of the year?
Correct. And it wouldn't require a new contract. It would just be an addendum to the current contract.
Right, but okay. So it's the prorated amount of 49,920 based on workdays from now through June 30?
Correct.
Okay.
So she'll be coming back, it'll come back again after June for an increase, or how long, this is just a 6-month contract? 8 month?
It's based on their, I think, if I remember correctly, it's based on whatever her rollover or her carryover amounts are and what her allocations are for next year. So they would come back to you, yes, if there was a need to increase.
Okay, so her current contract will then expire June 30th of '25 is what I'm asking.
She currently has a 2-year contract with the district, so there will have to be an adjustment made in July of this year. But I don't know what that looks like yet because their budget hasn't been, it hasn't been devised yet for next year.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you.
So,
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Kennard,
Yes.
Piles,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Wester, yes, Laster,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
motion passes.
Madam President and Board, the next action is recommended motion, move that the Board of Education approves the GSRP, which is Great Start Readiness Program staff bonuses as presented. The Great Start Readiness Program staff are integral to the success of early childhood education in our district. A $700 bonus for GSRP staff is a strategic investment to recognize their hard work, boost morale, and support the retention of highly skilled educators. The GSRP program has $15,600 in carryover funds available that must be allocated by December 31, 2024. These funds can be placed in staff salaries. We're proposing a staff bonus in the amount of $700 per staff. 21 staff times 700 is $14,700. The budget implications is GSRP carryover grant number 1111812400040003430. In the exhibits, there's none. That's the recommended motion.
Support.
It's been motioned by Kennard, supported by Wester. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question, Madam President. So is this going to be a stipend check, or is this going to go toward their retirement and be part of their payroll?
I have to look back and see how we did this last year. We did the same thing last year.
I think it
on
was a
this.
stipend.
I want to say stipend, but I don't want to give any misinformation. I have to look into it. It's most likely going to be a stipend that's not ORS.
Right, because then it can come back and show different,
Yep.
like they took a pay
Yeah,
cut or
but
something.
I don't want to give that, I mean, I can send that information along. I don't have that tonight, but I would look back and see what we did last year. Most likely it's a stipend that we did last year.
All right, thank you.
Yes, so Has there been discussion about stipends for all teachers or just GSRP? I understand these are GSRP funds, but again, with the carryover, we have until June 30th of '25 to spend them. I'm thinking about, we appreciate all of our staff and all of our teachers, and not all of them have grant-funded positions. So I'm hesitant to say, yes, we appreciate this group, and here's, a stipend at Christmas time, where everybody else, we're not. Has there been any discussion where we can do this for all of our staff, and then just use GSRP funds for GSRP?
So there's been discussion with Mark Graham. We have a grant, I believe it's 31AA, where part of that grant, if the schools qualify, you can set aside a certain number of dollars for retention. We've had that discussion prematurely. He has set aside some funds, but all schools do not qualify for that. So it's hard for me, like you were saying, it's hard for me to go to a collective bargaining group and say, well, only these 3 schools, teachers in these 3 schools qualify for this, whatever the retention bonus would be, but these other schools don't qualify. So unless the district wants to authorize the use of funds in general fund to provide some kind of retention or bonus, I'm always happy to discuss that. If we're in a position to give the money back to the staff, we should. I don't think sitting at 7 or 8 or 10%, we're in that position. I think when we get to 18, 20% fund balance, I think we start talking about that. Absolutely, we should take that and give that back to the staff, but I don't think we're there yet. We're not at that point. I wouldn't feel comfortable financially spending general fund dollars. Not that we don't appreciate all of our staff, but fortunately and unfortunately, because these positions can go away just as quickly as they come if the dollars go away. So if grant funds are reduced, those positions get reduced. So it's not that I don't want to honor everybody in the district. I don't know that we're financially in a position to do so at this point. But if you want to authorize that and you want us to do that, I'm happy to look into it, but
I'm
not
wondering
there.
if we had
But
like.
yes, we've had conversations.
So if we
Yes.
could use the 21H funds where they're allowable, and GSRP where it's allowable, any other grant funds where they're allowable, and then look at who's left and what would that impact on general fund be?
So I think in order to make it meaningful, and I'll share with you my opinion, $500 doesn't do anything for people these days, to be quite honest. Back during COVID,
No, I'm talking about the 700 that were,
I understand that, but that doesn't, if you're gonna give everybody meaningful retention or meaningful, it's gotta be meaningful. The 700 is great, and it's great for people that make a certain hourly wage, because that means something for them. But in general, when you're talking across the board, for me, and this is just a personal opinion, there's nothing to back this up. When I'm gonna authorize, or the board authorizes me to authorize every member in the district to get some kind of retention bonus or something, it's gotta be substantial. It has to mean something for people to say, you know what, thanks. And it has to be done correctly. It has to be spread out over years. There's gotta be a dedication to that staff member to stay the number of years to get the full retention. So giving somebody a one-time bonus, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, it doesn't work. If I give somebody $1,000 at Christmas, they're gonna leave in April if they find another gig down the street. But if you give somebody $8,000 or $7,000 or $6,000 over the course of 2 years, there's more incentive to stay to get that remaining balance. So, I'm totally on board with retention. I don't have a problem with what you're saying.
not even a
but
retention, I'm just talking about a bonus, what we're
Either way
calling
you look
this.
at it, whether it's
Yep.
bonus or retention bonus, I would rather call it a retention bonus. These are funds that have to get reallocated to GSRP employees. So we did this last year, and we'll continue to bring it to the board as long as it's available. I'm not suggesting we leave other groups out, but this is what's before you this evening, so.
Madam President, are you done? Oh, okay. So these funds that are available are just grant dollars.
Correct.
So we just heard a few minutes ago earlier about, from our audit, that we had an overage of about 1 million. Okay, and so looking at that, I hear what you're saying, Trustee Piles, okay, looking at the district in its entirety, but we have to make sure that our fund balance, or wherever we're getting our additional funds from, can accommodate the entire district.
Correct.
And so we're at 11%, I thought I heard.
Good thing.
Yes, and so this is the first time that we're over that threshold Okay, and so when we get to, we can look at this and we can do a preliminary forecast, from the finance, looking at if we say, 3% on the next year or so or whatever, to probably plan for it and have extenuating discussions about that. I understand what you're saying, and it's actually, we're looking at our staff as well, and we're looking at the district as a whole, that hopefully we'll be in that position where we could do that. But grant dollars has to be used. Okay, if grant dollars are not used, then we risk the possibility of those dollars being.
sure, never leave
returned.
money
So
on
we
the
don't want to
table.
do that, so we want to use it up. I just wanted to add to that, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Kennard,
Yes.
Piles,
Yes.
Wester, yes, Evans,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Laster.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you, board. Thank you.
Okay,
smells like
Madam
alcohol.
President, and Board, the next action item is the Adult Education Recruitment and Retention Specialist. Move that the Board of Education approves the full-time Adult Education Recruitment and Retention Specialist position as presented. The role of the Adult Recruitment and Retention Specialist is essential for building and sustaining successful adult education programs. This position directly addresses challenges related to enrolling and retaining adult learners, ensuring these programs achieve their full potential in empowering individuals and benefiting the community. The budget implications is 1078 Adult Education Innovation Grant, which is 11211-1630-021, 030-2890, which is a 0.5, 50% FTE, and the other 50% FTE is number 11212-1630-0021, 030-2890, with a salary of $36,565 plus benefits. And we have in the board package the job description as
Support.
presented.
It's been motion.
Thought you was
It's
gonna
been
read the job
motion by Kennard, supported by Powell. Any discussion?
So, Madam President,
Y'all just would keep me awake.
I'm trying to read this
so
fast.
last week I asked about, this group has an admin assistant, has an admin. This group has an admin, adult ed has an admin.
Yes.
Okay.
They have I don't know what the official title is, recruitment
Right,
and
yeah,
whatever. We went
okay.
over this before.
And then,
Data,
and
yeah.
then, one of the things is contacting responsibilities, contacting prospective students, regularly contact current students. And I asked about this, because they said, for those that aren't coming and I asked about the attendance, are they liaisons, officers, the attendance people? If they could partake in this and help, and we were told, oh, we can't cross numbers, we can't cross. Well, if you write the job description correctly, you could probably do that. Okay, but Mike, I just keep seeing more, and it, did you say? No, I know, but we see that special ed can draw money out of this fund and then part of gen ed and do these things. And I guess I just look at, if part of the primary, yes, last week, the primary responsibility was going to be contacting students that are absent, making sure they come to school, making sure they're completing their courses and things like that. Is this going to be another duplicate position? It seems like it's duplicate. People are already doing the work. Is it necessary to have another person? And what does this qualify with other admins as far as salary goes? Are they a 10-month employee? Are they 12-month employee?
Madam President? Yes. I think it was also brought up that it was more about the incoming students, a lot of students that were signing or going in and requesting information and more or less trying to do the follow-up to get them enrolled and things of that nature, as well as on the back end, kind of watching it for attendance and stuff, because she said it was so much traffic coming through that it was a lot for her to entail by herself. A lot of it was the getting of new students into the program and following through with, for them to complete their paperwork was a part of it. So it wasn't just attendance and making sure that they were getting their classes done.
Thank you for clarifying.
And can I add to that, Madam President? I just want to speak about this program and my experience. I signed my sister up to be in this program, and no one in my family was pushing her to do it. And I said, you have to get this done for your children. And she wouldn't do it unless I got involved. And it was a lot of leg work up front because you have to register, you have to track down your transcripts. It was a bunch of other things you had to do. You had to get a community service letter. So it's a lot of criteria to get it done. And to see her walk across the stage, it was worth it. And it was so many graduates there. I enjoyed the adult ed graduation a little bit more than the high school graduation. It was that powerful. It was great.
Okay.
No. All righty. I think it was
Kennard.
and Piles, right? And we had the discussion. All right.
Kennard,
Yes.
Piles,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Lester is yes, Laster,
Yes.
motion is approved.
Thank you. The next action item, Madam President and Board, move that the Board of Education approve the adult education English as a second language teacher position as presented. The rationale demand for the adult education ESL teacher stems from the growing and diverse needs of our community. English proficiency is in the cornerstone of personal success and community integration, particularly for adult learners who are non-native speakers. The budget implications is the 1078 Adult Education Innovation Grant, where the salary is between $49,379 to $66,725, a 50-50 split, 11/20 to 11, 16/30, 0/21, 0/30, 28/90, and 11/212, 16/30, 0/21, 0/30, 28/90. And the exhibits is the job description in the board packet.
Support.
It's been motion by Kennard, supported by Wester. Any discussion? Roll call.
Kennard.
Oh.
Kennard,
Yes.
Wester is yes, Piles,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Laster,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
motion passes.
It keeps
The
on
next,
giving.
the next recommended motion is a part-time TABE tester / MAERS reporting assistant. Madam President and Board, move that the Board of Education approves the part-time adult education TABE tester / MAERS reporting assistant as presented. The rationale is addition of the TABE tester, MAERS reporting assistant is crucial for ensuring the efficiency, compliance, and success of the district's adult education programs. This role provides vital support in assessing student needs and maintaining accurate data for state and federal reporting. The cost is $28.10 an hour. The budget is the budget implications under the 107A Adult Education Innovation Grant. It's a 50-50 appointment, FTE, which is 11/21, 16/30, 0/21, 0/30, 28/90, and 11/2/12, 16/30, 0/21, 0/30, 28/90. In the board package, we have the job description as the exhibit.
Support.
Been motion by Kennard, supported by Evans. Any discussion?
I have a question, Madam President.
Yes.
So when we look at the job duties for this position, those are all covered in the recruitment and retention specialist. So I'm wondering how these two positions differ, and I apologize, I didn't notice this before. So I don't know if you know.
I'd have to ask Ms. Grish. I don't have that specific answer.
Okay. I do know that this program is growing. It's self-sustaining. We've had significant increase. And so I don't have a problem. I just saw the overlap.
So I think she addressed that at the last, when she presented, that her enrollment is over 400. And so these people
Okay.
would be sharing duties
Okay.
due to the fact, the growth of the program and the size of the program. Like the recruitment folks would be getting folks who come in and inquire about the program but don't get follow-up. And then these would also be crossover duties for testing and making sure that there's compliance with the testing. I think that's what she talked about at the last time, but again, I can follow up with her and find out, but I believe that's what that was, that she spoke to that with the large group that she does have, or
I
increasing
think she
enrollment.
said she's looking to like hire former students who've graduated from the program too.
She wants
so-
more of her own people to come back and be in the program.
Madam President, I do have a question. So in the motion, it says it's part-time. It is not part of the job description. So what is her definition of part-time?
I have to get back to you. The
Less than 40
part-time to me
hours?
is part-time. It's.
Like 4 hours a day?
Yeah, 4
type
hours a
thing?
day or 20 hours a week or however they cut it up.
Okay,
But yeah, part-time is less than 40 hours a week to me.
okay, very good.
And I leave that to her to determine. I mean, if it's
Well,
part-time,
when it's not, yeah, when it's in the motion and not in the job description, you go, well, is it a part-time? That's all.
It says full-time, doesn't it?
Part-time.
It says part-time.
Yeah, part-time.
And then a couple of things about the motions that you all may or may not have,
The
or
motion
not the
says that
motions,
the
but the
job
job
description
descriptions. At the last board meeting, there was some, I think it was trustee Evans that asked for the,
Oh, yes, our time.
Okay, I didn't see that.
so if you all look at the job descriptions, it says where the grant, you guys had inquired about where the funding came from, so I highlighted that, the funding request. And I must say, those are some of the greatest rationales that have ever been put before you, so those are great, and you should really, that's some of my best work, I'm just saying. You guys asked for more
Good
than two
job.
sentences, so
Good
I'm just
job.
looking for a pat on the back, I'm just saying. ChatGPT is wonderful, AI, I'm just saying. Kidding.
Okay, well,
I apologize, it is in the title.
is in the title.
It is, yeah, I didn't see it either.
Sorry.
So just want to make sure that you all saw that the funding was listed, because I know that was a question before, where the funding came from for the positions. I just want to point out my work on the rationale.
This is very well written.
Madam President, Mr. Brock, I'll give you a pat on the back.
When you get well.
Thank you very much for all the
Yeah, right.
information. As
Thank
I
you,
stated at the
Trustee
last
Kennard,
minute,
for
you've
reading.
gotten there.
Kennard,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Piles,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Wester is yes, Laster.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. We are now at the report of board subcommittees.
I'll let you go first, sinking fund.
Sinking fund. Oh, we met with, we
sinking
met
fund
with
properties.
properties last week. Let me get out my notes. I wasn't prepared.
Well, you want me to go ahead?
You go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Madam President, Board, the Finance Committee had a brief overview meeting today, and we met last week, I think the week before. So the first thing, one of the things we discussed was the Google Sheet. Okay, so in summary, the Google Sheet is not operative. Right now, we are reviewing, whether we are staying in compliance with the Open Meeting Act. However, President Lester is going to provide us the information that was from it with the information, responses to it, so that each board member will have it, and she'll, get that to us, and so that'll keep us in compliance until we determine what is a better suit, in terms of moving forward with something electronic. So that way, we will still be in compliance thus far with that information being presented at you. And so, as you'll get it in a work, document, paper document, whatever. So we'll be okay there. So I just wanted the board to know that we have diligently still been working with that, but we're just working to make it official with legal to make sure that we have it right when we come to you. Okay. The next thing, we had extensive conversation about the bond. And it's very important that the board is very astute in the language, and so we're going to have, and Dr. Edmondson was in on the meeting as well with the president in terms of what moving forward, in terms of informing the board on, so that we're very astute in knowing what the bond is all about and what there's going to be. So, what's the name of that finance? It's PFM. We're going to have them come back. So there's additional questions from the board that you may address that. You can address that individual when they come back clarification in terms of how I see it. I know what I know, but I'm not gonna repeat it today because I don't want anybody getting confused, but, there's some clarification in terms of the 8.5 mil versus, what we've paid off, and what's needed to, so we're gonna wait until they come before us and you can ask them at that time. It's very important that we know and understand, because I've been approached already about, what is entailed and how it is. And so, we want to make sure that we are we understand what's about. What's your?
So has the date for the ballot changed?
Yes, I was getting to that.
Okay.
And so the board, we approved a possible bond, I think it was in May. And so from conversation, they're looking to extend it, so therefore it has to come back to the board, to reestablish the new possible date for it to go on the ballot. So we voted to have one meeting in May, but I understand there's going to be changed to August, whatever. Again, that information, once we hear from the PFM and they decide and answer our questions, then that eventually has to come back to the board for approval with the new date. Okay, because we already voted on the existing to happen in May. Okay, answer your question. Yeah, potentially August. Okay. And also we're encouraging, once this information, and the board we have speaking notes that's going to be presented to us, that we encourage the public, anybody who has questions, to come before the board. They should, call, any one of us, the superintendent or finance, whatever, but superintendent, particularly the board members, we will make ourselves and should be available and should be able to answer. Anything that we can't, then we got administration. We can handle that. And I encourage you, those who don't know the jargon of finance, to do so and use them. Okay, because it can be complicated because you get all kinds of questions. I mean, you get questions that, hey, I can tell you what I've been hit with, but because I'm in the field, I know things about. Most people may not be able to convey that, and if you can't, don't take on the task. Seriously, don't take it on. But we should have an avenue, whether we put something out on the website or the administration. I'm looking for administration to, help guide that and ease it. Our job is to get that information out, to be transparent with it, okay, to make sure that all the questions are addressed and asked. No one should be unaware. We should be all immersed, okay?
In our conversation today, I told the board that I would get them talking points. I have them, but I haven't really looked at them yet, but I will turn them over to you tomorrow. And this is something where it's a little bit frightening if you don't know it. Okay, and it's okay to say that you don't know it, and let somebody who does know it be able to speak on it. And just like the operating millage 3 years ago, I will absolutely be out in the community. It was me. I did not want to rush and throw something out and say, okay, by May, and kill myself. I'm just not going to do that. We have time to do it right. We have time to educate folks. I don't necessarily know that anybody has to come to the board for. We'll have presentations. There'll be plenty of things that we have throughout the year where people can get information. Whether I go out to people's communities or if you live in a subdivision, that's part of my job. That's part of my job. And if we have somebody who's helping you do that, we'll go out and do that. And if a board member in your community, you want me to be there, I'm going to be there. I just needed a little break that I can't just try to kill myself by May and then turn around and we have graduation. I feel like that's not going to work for me. But the summer would give me all the time. But I just want people to get the right information. And again, for you all, I've never done a bond. I've done everything but bonds. So I want to make sure that I feel very comfortable getting out and getting that information. Right now I do, but I don't have all the information. But I'll give you just the talking points tomorrow so that you can just kind of run with it. But we'll have somebody here to explain, and I expect you and ask you to ask questions there so that we can all feel like we are comfortable leading this way. As I said, I really don't want to work against board members. I don't want to have to do that. I'm not going to do that. That makes no sense for me to work against you. Just need to be on the right working together, because frankly, this is you can't rebuild or you can't fix things that you need based on the budget that you're not. So I just want to make sure that we move that on so that you know that you're getting that information tomorrow.
Thank you, Dr. Edmondson.
You're welcome.
All right. The next item, one of the things that we talked about, was the org chart. We keep going back and forth with that. So we did address that. We determined that some of those things that's in relation to that comes from human resources. So the finance director, Maria, Dr. Getzinger, is going to put something together, and hopefully we'll address that very soon. Okay, so we're working on it. I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention that it's just nothing that's just sitting there undone. Okay. All right. So the next thing, transparency report that's on the website. We addressed that. That information is going to be updated, and you're going to see something soon. We did bring that up in our conversations. And so the properties, just want the board to know we did have a discussion on that, from a financial perspective, the Beverly property is sold, and the Merriman should be sold by the end of the year. And there is a newly account that was established for where those funds go into. And they are for student programs, and it should be approved by the Board of Education. I think that number in terms of where that should go was 10-312-3449. I believe that's around the right account number. But again, we want to make sure that you understand that these are for new programs. That category in terms of when we're selling property goes to the new programs identified. Yes.
Question, so there is a property, former school, that is going around on social media that's being auctioned off. Do we own that?
No,
Or is,
absolutely not.
well, I was making sure because whoever's overseeing this had commented, because somebody said, oh, well, they should do this with Mount Pleasant, and whoever's running this said, oh, yeah, well, Mount Pleasant will be next once the board sees how easy this was. And so I was just like, are we now auctioning properties, or?
No, to answer that, I did see that. And so that property is not owned by the district. It has not been in a while now, if you recall. Okay, and so now it's being auctioned off. And I believe that auction closed. I think it's already, it's in the process of being concluded. Nobody bid it? No. Well, it says December. Right. No, we do not own that property, but we do own the other property.
We own property, not built that Beverly building.
Okay. Yeah, this closed at December 10th. Yeah. So the other property that you are referring to, we do own. The Mount Pleasant. And as far as I know, no, it's not going to auction. No, it's not. So we need to clarify that. That property is not up for auction.
Right.
And that is all that the Finance Committee, we were very busy. And if you have any additional financial, things that you want us to address, please direct it to anyone on the Finance Committee. We'll make sure that we get that to our Finance Director and the President, okay? Now, it's not in the Google form, so
Email.
just get it to us in email. Okay, thank you. That's it.
What'd you say about Mental Labs?
Sinking fund.
Okay, sinking fund. So we had our meeting on the 12th. Seems like, anyway, regardless, we went through room 507. The only thing left is needs to be something added to the lockers. One panel needs to be installed. Drinking fountain update, we had a grant for $41,000, correct, Jason? And have we used that grant already? We're in the process of using that so that our drinking fountains can be in compliance by the end of the 25-26 school year, correct?
No, 2026, the beginning of 2026.
Okay, okay.
Certain milestones before then, but that's when everything.
Okay, and we're looking at an additional $100,000 grant possibility. The WIC gym floor, $80,000. That is going to be done over the Christmas break. No change in that, correct? So they should be coming back from Christmas break to a brand-new gym floor. There are ceiling and lighting projects at all buildings. And we're currently looking at, if you look at the elementaries, it's $248,000 just for the corridors each. If you look at corridors and classrooms for the elementaries, the three identical elementaries, you're looking at 1.1. The middle school needs it. That's, the corridors are 600,000 or if you do both, it's 1.5 million. So we potentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason and Judy, we have the money in sinking fund that we could complete the middle school renovation if that's how we choose to go down that avenue and get the middle school with the carpet, all of the building completely recarpeted. We did part of it, that would be finished, and all of the corridor and classroom, so that our middle school would have a complete new face on it. If that's how
Except the
this,
stairs, those stairs are terrible.
yes, they're a trip hazard, right? Yeah,
They're
so,
just-
so we could finish our middle school by the end of this school year through the summer, correct? And we could have a whole new face on our middle school, if that's what this Board of Education wants, okay? And we have the ability to piecemeal. If we do the elementaries, you hate to say you pick one, but between the principals, they'll talk it out, what do we need? The principals will work together on who gets first dibs or whatever. The fencing is done at all of the elementaries around the kindergarten playgrounds. They look great. And I think that's it. Is there anything else that you can remember?
Well, I just wanted to say to the board that in our discussion, we were more leaning to doing the renovations building by building instead of doing it separate, where you doing something here and something there, so that it can be tangible, so that when we complete something, we finish it. Okay, and so that was just a suggestion in the conversations that we had, and that's why Trustee Evans, was speaking in terms of the middle school first and then doing the other ones later.
Right, rather than tearing apart a building to put in the hall, the
Yeah.
corridors, do the classrooms in the corridors, get it done, right? And so that was the general consensus of our sinking fund meeting. Again, it's up to the Board of Education when it comes forth how we want to vote on that.
Yeah.
Thank you, that's it.
You spoke about the grant for the Filter First water hydration. That doesn't need to be in place, but the plan is actually due January 24th or 25th. Who will be working on that plan that has to be submitted?
Who will? Probably Mark and Jason.
Jason.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Jason. And my hat goes up, kudos to Jason. He's really staying on top of things, him and his staff. Just keeping us informed, so.
And also,
I'm sorry?
we have already scheduled the next finance meeting. We decided to have the finance and the sinking fund meeting on the same day, because it best suited all our schedules. What was the date? The December 17th. Okay.
The policy committee, we were supposed to meet last week, but we had to change that due to some issues for not being posted right. But Darcel and I did meet anyway and started to go over the red lines that we brought forth, and we started marking up according to the email you sent us with all the updates in it, matching them up to make sure that things lined up. We just about finished those, so he's working on that. We have not yet set our next meeting, but we hope to have some more information at the next meeting. But we did go through those and kind of matched them up to make sure which year, we went all the way back to 22, we were kind of like at 22, and matched it up, you know, so there's still a couple that we're still out there trying to do, but we should have some more information here soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam President?
Yes.
So is your intention to have this before the board before?
We're hoping to be, because he's going over some more. He's going over the rest of them, and we're hoping to have it written up so we can bring it back hopefully at the next meeting.
At the next meeting? Okay, so just as a FYI, traditionally we do a first reading and second reading. However, if the board see fit, if they would accept a first reading, that could be done as well. So I just want you, because I know we had,
I
it
know
was
the wording,
mentioned,
yeah. That's
yeah, I
what we're
know it
kinda
was mentioned
working
at the
on.
last meeting that you had to have,
No,
you know,
we can
2 readings,
bypass
but you
that
do,
one,
you can
right.
bypass
We can
that second
bypass
one,
the-
and
right.
it could be so fit
Right.
if the board so see fit. Okay?
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, I know that when the policies were brought to us, I believe we were told that they're current up through March of 2024. However, the legal updates that were provided take us current up to this date. Is it possible to include those legal updates when we adopt policy so we're not behind?
Well, we actually wound up, Vice President, we asked President Laster to reach out to Miller Johnson to get us the most updated so that we can line them
Yes,
all
thank
up
you.
so that we have everything that will be up to date. So
Okay,
that's what
great.
we will be working on.
Thank you.
Is that all from the subcommittees? All right, thank you to all the subcommittees. I'm gonna keep it brief. I want to thank the presentations that came before us, Jayla Gillette, Principal Van Hooks, also the audit presentation. A couple of us are wearing our pink shirts, our Team Romulus shirts in support of Tammy Garrison, and anyone that is affected by fighting the fight or lost the battle of the beast we call cancer, because it affects everyone. So this is just a symbol of appreciation. So thank everybody for their kind words, prayers, whether it was monetary, whether it was purchasing a shirt or just keeping her in your thoughts. I just want to say thank you. Thank you. I did send out communications to the board over the last couple of days via email, so if you could just check those. I did send a text message out about upcoming events. Thank you for the increased responses. I appreciate you guys. I do have the infamous Google Drive. We can pass these so everybody has a copy. That was a request. I wanted to get that done. Thank you, Eve. I also want to pass out to Trustee Piles, Trustee Kennard, and Ms. Kamal, if you don't mind coming forward. This is just a little welcome letter. Yes, you can. And I just wanted to print out the certified results. So thank you so much and congratulations again, and we'll be in contact. And honestly, I wanted the meeting to be like 7:15-ish. I had a real goal, but things happen. Business has to be conducted, so we will move forth with goals of trying to get us out of here, because I know everybody has a life, but we also have to conduct business and get things done. So thank you for sticking with us, and I appreciate the team. And thank you, Eve, for all of your help and back and forth today, because I know I was on you like you were my administrative assistant. And so I just want to just say thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Be safe. And comments from the board? Trustee Piles?
I appreciate our students always who come out and speak. So I want to thank the students and also thank parents and grandparents who come and speak. Appreciate that feedback.
Thank you. Oh, you got them all? It was just extras. I'm sorry. Okay. Madam Secretary?
Ms. Jayla did a wonderful job in her presentation, very articulate. as we see the product of our school district. When we have our students come up and present, it is so heartwarming to have them come present and they are articulate and can get out what it is they're trying to do. Audit, awesome job. Dr. Getzinger and your team, awesome job. I do it every meeting. I just thank the cabinet for all their hard work and everything they do to keep the district running, as well as thanking all our community members coming out to support. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Be safe.
Treasurer McCarthy.
Ego Nation, thank you for everything, all that you do, all your support. Special shout out to Ms. Coleman and the Pretty Brown Girls. I think it's amazing that we have a young group of young ladies who are willing to stand in the gap for marginalized groups and women in general. When I look back over my life, I would have been where I wanted to be in half the amount of time if I had the support and mentorship of just other women in general. So I know firsthand how hard it is to fight through that barrier. So special shout out to you. Thank you. Good night.
Trustee Evans.
Thank you for bringing PFM to us to go through this bond again. I would like to bring up the list that we have been provided, and if it could possibly be looked at in a different way, because there's things on here that I don't want to, there's things on here that are really not, that are not needed, that shouldn't have really been put on here. So if we could have Airsman possibly revisit, or if we can meet as the sinking fund even, to go through this and cross off what we know doesn't need to be on this list, that would be helpful before PMF comes in. That's my PFM. Oh, I wrote it down wrong, sorry. So I think that would be helpful. Thank you for the policy committee for working on that so diligently. That's about it. Thank you, all of the team. Mr. and Mrs. Cheney, thank you for coming in. Dr. and Mr. Cheney, however I can phrase it, whatever. Yeah, so this is my next to the last meeting, and it's going to be, the next one should be interesting. So Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Travel safe if you are traveling, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
And save me a plate.
Okay. All right. I think in our, no, as I recall, in our finance meeting, Jason was going to, Trustee Everett, Jason was going to, we did mention that that sheet needed to be updated. And so, Jason, I think you were already aware of that. We had that conversation in our meeting to have that sheet updated, and I'm hopefully thinking he's already started working on that. Okay, so just as a reminder. Yeah, no, it was a, I want to call it a punch sheet.
list.
It was a punch sheet for the 177 million potential, 177 from PFM that they originally had. It needs to be streamlined because some of those things were, as Trustee Everett just mentioned, has already happened. And when they originally formed that sheet, they just went with what they know at that time. So we had a discussion in the sinking fund meeting, and just as a reminder that hopefully he's already started and reached out to them. Okay, so we are aware of that, so I just wanted to bring it back to your attention. But anyway, I would like to say to Dr. Getzinger, she's always been accessible, you know, and she's always been there.
Even on the weekends.
Even on the weekends, and she's been open, and she's very transparent, and so that's what we appreciate. Finance people need to be in that mode when they're addressing that. Well, actually, everybody, really. But she's been exceptionally open to that, and we want to thank you very much, and quite frankly, to all of the administration that works for the Romulus Community School District. We want to thank you for all that you do and what all you stand for, Dr. Edmondson. Okay, I want you to know that. And also to Eve. She's been our rock in making sure that not only this year, but all the years that she's been here and providing us what we need. So the board has always been open for student engagement, student programs, and so when we have our students to come before us with any means or whatever it is, we try to acknowledge that and we promote that, and so we're going to continue to do that because that's what we are, and that's why we are putting these seats for that. I attended last week was that student government or was that student council with the symposium? Was it both?
Student government.
Student government, and let me tell you something. More people, when we have the next one, they should know that our student government was very excellent. You know, first time out of the gate is what I call it. And they hit a home run in terms of being able to sit at a table and be engaging with leaders of the community. I mean, it was beyond, and it was held very, very nice, and they displayed, you know, just what the academics learnings have and engaged them during the years. And so I just want them to know, as well as their advisor and to the board and the community, that we're moving forward. And, you know, I was happy to see that. And hopefully as they go, I think there's another one that's coming up, and that they'll get better participation from the community as well as the board. I want to thank everyone for attending and staying with us today. I could see greater things coming ahead for the Board of Education in the district as we move forward, and I'll save my thoughts for Trustee Evans' last meeting. I won't say it tonight, but we'll wait, because I don't want her to cry. All right, yeah. Yes, she does. She has a sensitive side. Yes, she does. All right, thank you.
All right, real quickly. First of all, thank you to my team. I say that all the time. I appreciate it. You know, I love coming here. Just love coming and working with you all. So thank you for that. A couple of things. The Ignite and Inspire series started last week. We've done it twice. Really like seeing what I see, putting the right adults in front of kids to talk about their careers and other things. It's something that happens weekly. I think we are done now until the new year. But we have, if you know of anybody that can talk about their career, they're sitting in front of the entire student body. And students are very receptive. I couldn't be more proud of the high school student behavior at the events that I've been at. Of course, they're on a Wednesday and Thursday when I'm there. But I really appreciate what we're doing in the school to move that forward. So if you get a chance or you know someone, the Ignite and Inspire, formerly the Minority Speaker Series. Osborne Concrete gave us 35 holiday bundles for $100 worth of food at the butcher shop in Belleville. That's in Belleville. Between now and Christmas, we'll be handing those out. I'm working with the principals and the attendance liaisons to identify those families. Also, we now have another donor that gave us $1,000 to give. You know, I called each principal as first come, first serve who comes to me. So we'll be giving out gift cards to Meyer from a donor, one of our, I guess they are one of our, thank you, one of our vendors who's graciously decided to donate that to our district. So I feel really good about that. And last but not least, as I said to a student, we are going to have a sickle cell awareness that you will be hearing about. For those that do not know what sickle cell anemia is, but it's a Black community. Some of us, I'm a sickle cell carrier, and that's 3 heart surgeries because of it's all related. But I want to make sure that kids know that they might be potentially carriers, and also what that means if you're deciding to have a family. You have to be educated on that. So that'll be coming. Her name is Dr. Sherney. Maybe Dr. Sherney, who will be working with that. She's an expert in that field from here. But I want to make sure that all students are aware that they may be a carrier. So that's it. Have a wonderful holiday, and go Bucks.
He said, go what?
Motion to adjourn at 8:41. All right.
Aye.